This is Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Udom. Let's bring you up to speed with the big stories in the polity and in politics at midday. Rivers State government says it is yet to receive any letter from the State Assembly on the presentation of the 2025 budget following a 48-hour ultimatum which expires today. A position the House has now disputed as untrue. The nation's lead anti-graft agency, the EFCC, grills former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, over alleged 700 billion naira fraud during his tenure as governor. Perhaps tension in the Senate. A senator representing Kogi Central joins colleagues at the Senate chambers as plenary resumes. All eyes on the chambers to see how things play out following allegations by her against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio after an altercation over seats in the chamber. As Senator Natasha arriving at the Senate chamber with her husband as plenary resumed after a one-week recess. In a brief but affectionate moment, her husband gave her a kiss before she proceeded into the chamber to take her seat. Just a moment, you're going to see that. Yes, that's the moment. Well, the Kogi State Senator took her place in a newly assigned seat, which has been at the center of the ongoing controversy. The dispute over the seat has sparked tensions within the Senate, leading to further allegations of sexual harassment by the Senator, Natasha, and raising fresh concerns about decorum and conduct within the legislative chambers. As plenary resumed, all eyes are now on Senator Natasha as she settled into her seat, signaling her readiness to continue legislative duties in spite of the ongoing controversy. So you can see her walking to a designated seat and exchanging pleasantry with our colleagues who are on different sides of the aisle. So that's Senator Natasha right there. We also understand the Senate President has come into the chamber, but as customary, she didn't stand up to recognize him like others. But while this is going on inside, outside the chambers of the Senate and the National Assembly, yes, this one, there's been some protests in support of Senator Natasha Akpoti, gathering outside the complex of the National Assembly. This is as the Senate Ethics Committee, chaired by Senator Neda Imaswen, gets set to commence his probe of Senator Natasha Akpoti's refusal to comply with the rules of the Senate. As the protesters gathered, cans of tear gas were fired, but the protesters appeared undeterred as they regrouped, barricaded by the security agencies. The protesters accused the Senate President of silencing women and are calling on President Bola Tinubu to intervene. The investigation scheduled for today comes after a unanimous vote to probe Senator Natasha Akpoti following a heated outburst in the chambers last week. So we are following that development in the chambers of the National Assembly to see how things will eventually pan out. It's already a tense moment because we understand that when the Senate President walked into the chambers, usually senators stand up. We understand she may not have stood up. So what will happen, we'll let you know as reporters are right there at the chambers of the National Assembly. Away from that, operatives of the corporate headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have arrested a former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, over alleged 700 billion naira fraud. Mr. Emmanuel was arrested after honoring an invitation of the EFCC to answer charges of money laundering, diversion of funds, and stealing preferred against him by the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking, NCAT. They put out that petition and alleged those things. He arrived at the EFCC's office. That should be Tuesday at about 12:30 p.m. The Commission's investigations have uncovered a withdrawal of 31 billion naira in cash in one single account. The name of the account is the Office of the Governor. The money was withdrawn in cash progressively between 2019 and 2023. The petitioner alleged that Mr. Udom Emmanuel received 3 trillion naira from the Federation account in 8 years, but left a debt profile of 500 billion naira and an unpaid ongoing projects worth 300 billion naira. It was also alleged to be unable to account for about 700 billion naira of the funds. The EFCC's investigations are ongoing with Mr. Udom Emmanuel. Is being grilled by the operatives house yesterday. Well, we'll continue to follow up on that story. As at yesterday, he was still being investigated and being grilled by the EFCC. Whether he's at home or not, we can't confirm that at the moment. Let's head to the big controversy in Rivers State. The government says it is yet to receive resolutions from the State House of Assembly regarding the Supreme Court ruling. In a letter signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Tammy Danagogo, the State Government explains that as at yesterday, March the 4th, the Governor's Office, his Deputy's Office, and the Accountant General's Office had not received the official resolution related to the February 28th Supreme Court judgment. This comes after Governor Siminalayi Fubara's public address on March the 2nd, where he reiterated his commitment to upholding the rule of law. Meanwhile, in a swift response, the State House of Assembly has disputed the state government's claim that they are yet to receive the letter on the House's resolution. The Speaker's principal secretary informed Channels television correspondent Charles Oporom that the letter was dispatched to the Government House on the 3rd, or March the 3rd, by a courier delivery service. But when the courier arrived at the Government House, the personnel received a call from within the House with instruction not to accept or receive the letter, but to return it to sender. Well, that is the crux of the conversation. We're being joined in the program by former Commissioner for Housing in Rivers State, Dr. Gift Wallo. He joins us via Zoom. Dr. Wallo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Geoffrey.
All right, let's begin with the maybe let's start from what is going on now, then we'll come backtrack. So I know that you had served in the government. I think in this government, correct me if I'm wrong, and you resigned twice, correct me if I'm wrong. But given what is playing out, what do you make of the situation of what is playing out in Rivers State at the moment, before we get to the nitty-gritty?
So what is happening in our state today is not different from what has happened since the present governor became governor in 2023. And what is happening, to me, I see it as a symptom of a more serious problem. And it is not even a Rivers problem. It is a Nigerian problem. It is an African problem. It is the problem of a culture of rewarding incompetence. We live in a climate where people aspire to positions of authority, leadership, without preparation. And what you find is this kind of disaster in Rivers State, where every morning, every day, every afternoon and night, all you hear is crisis. In the end, our governor, whenever his tenure ends, will have a legacy of crisis to show as what he did for Rivers people. Because as I speak with you today, development is arrested in our state. It doesn't matter what anybody wants to say. And now there was an issue. The matter went to court. In fact, several matters went to court. There were attempts by different people at different times to try to settle this matter out of court, to seek political solution to the matter. But at every turn, it was the governor and his people who refused to take the path of peace. At some point, he insisted, especially after even the president of the country intervened, he insisted that political solution will not fly. Instead, everybody should wait and hear from the courts. Today, the Supreme Court of the country spoke very eloquently, in very plain English language, what the situation should be. The Supreme Court said, for example, that looking at what is going on in Rivers State today, it is as if there is no government in Rivers State. And that is the truth. You cannot have a government in a democracy, 3 arms of government. The Constitution says you can't spend money without appropriation. In 2024, our governor went ahead, spent money belonging to Rivers people without appropriation. He's doing the same thing in 2025. He went ahead to conduct an illegal election, local government election, and got people into office. Those people stayed there for about 4 months, spending people's money based on illegality. And the Supreme Court ruled and said, do X, Y, Z, so that there can be peace in the place, so that there can be government in Rivers State, so that Rivers people can begin to enjoy the dividends of democracy. But unfortunately, even up till now, our governor is still bent on doing what he likes and what he feels. And that's very sad. That's not the contemplation of democracy.
Oh, okay.
Democracy is government of the people by the people.
Okay, Dr. Waldo, I'm going to, just a moment, I'm going to ask you more broad questions before I come to specific. You've spoken to some of the, without speaking for the government, Rivers State, I don't know why, has been synonymous with crisis. I grew up in that city, so I'm familiar with what goes on in that city. I remember our delivers as Amechi. I think I was still in school at that time. We had to be walking and raising our hands at some point on the streets of Port Harcourt. If you talk about the Amechi era, where we had the courts closed for 2 years, it was a tumultuous ascension to the governorship by Wike himself, the governor, and we understood some of the things that had to be dealt with in 2019, as far as that election was concerned. And now this is Fubara's turn, and still there's crisis. I just walk you through the history to tell you that this is not an isolated case. The state is synonymous with crisis, and which brings me to my question, why?
It is just what I told you before. You know, human behavior. I'm an expert, or I can say so, that I'm an expert in organizational behavior, human behavior. And one of the things we learn in organizational behavior is that behavior is a function of its consequence. Now, I told you that we have a culture of rewarding incompetence. And what is more is that now we're getting to a point where people are even weaponizing incompetence. And they do this knowing that nothing will happen. They will go scot-free. Those things that happened in the past, did anybody go to prison as a result? Did anybody even suffer any kind of, how will I call it, a negative effect because of what they did? You shut down the courts. You know what it means to shut down the court in a state for over a year. The lawyers who depend on court matters to earn a living, all the political cases, all the business cases that needed to be settled were not settled. Justice was, delayed and denied people because of the action of one man. And there was no consequence, no punishment. So people now think that that is the way to go. See, Geoffrey, I can tell you, one of the reasons why many of us are not medical doctors, engineers, and aeroscientists is that we think that those courses are difficult. It's difficult for you to study medicine 7 years, do all the difficult training that goes with it and all of that. So people run away from those courses. But I can tell you that the highest course and the highest job that anybody can do on earth is leadership. Unfortunately, that is where everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is running to, whether they have the capacity or not, whether they are competent or not. They want leadership because they think that they will be able to have unfettered access to public funds and then cause chaos.
All right, Dr. Waldo.
Can you imagine what River State would have been by now if in the last 2 years, people were sitting down and discussing policies, discussing programs, thinking of how River State can, be ahead of Lagos in terms of development, how River State can begin to compete with other states around the country. If that was the discussion, by now, I'm sure that we'll probably have at least a blueprint, a document on which we are working. But no, it is all politics of this and that. A governor comes to tell you that
Dr. Walu,
it is he who will decide whether the assembly should exist.
All right, Dr. Walu, just a moment, Dr. Walu. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. So confirm to me, you served in the Fubara's government twice, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come to that in a moment. So let's begin to look at some of the issues now. The court has said, based on the suit filed by Emmanuel and the House of Assembly on the 29th of November 2023, go back, present this budget to the House. And Emmanuel, the Speaker, has now said, come and present the 2025 budget to us. 48 hours. We're going to speak about that ultimatum in just a moment. But there's a back and forth. The state government, this morning we saw a letter saying, we've not received any letter. The principal secretary of the Speaker has said, no, that's not true. We sent the letter. They rejected the letter. So we don't know who to believe. So that's on one hand I would like you to speak to. The second part I would like you to speak to. The court has said that election on October the 30th is a nullity. The governor has gone ahead to set up head of local government. The council chairman whose tenure expired or ended, where the State House of Assembly extended, which was a subject of controversy, went to the appeal court and they lost at the appeal court, said they are supposed to be there. And then the people that were removed also during the time of Nyesom Wike when he came into office are now back and saying we're the rightful owners of that position, maybe pending when the lacuna is sorted out. What exactly do you make of this gamut of controversies?
Now, you can see clearly, and I'm sure the whole world can see who the aggressor is and who the victim is. The victim in all of this is Rivers people. And when you talk about Martin Emmanuel and Co, you are talking about representatives of the people of Rivers State that the governor said he does not recognize. In other words, he is the governor unto himself and his people, and not Rivers people. He took Rivers people to court. Rivers people have defeated him as far as the Supreme Court judgment is concerned. Yet, he is still bent on making sure that he acts like the owner of Rivers State and not the governor of Rivers State. Now, here is the point. The court said that Emmanuel is the Speaker of Rivers State Assembly, together with the other persons who went to court with him. The court also said that the election that happened was a sham, was an illegality, because it did not follow laid down procedures. The court also said, represent the budget to the assembly so that at least there can be a semblance of government in Rivers State. Because as it is now, in the eyes of the law, there is no government in Rivers State. But what is the governor doing instead? He doesn't want to present the budget. He's now writing letters claiming that what is the problem, in delivering a letter from Rivers State House of Assembly to Rivers State Government House. Both of them are in the city of Port Harcourt. So what is the governor telling us that he didn't receive any letter? But even if he didn't receive any letter, is he in any way saying that he wants to receive a letter and do what he's supposed to do? Instead, he's telling us that he's waiting to get the certified true copy of the judgment from the Supreme Court. Now, a person who is waiting for certified true copy, why are you making attempts at conducting another election? Because he has asked the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to put in place a process for conducting another election. He has not seen this certified true copy. Why is he doing that? He has asked the local government chairman to go. He didn't see certified true copy. But he chooses which one he will do and which one he will not do, and is hiding under not getting
Dr. Walu. Just a moment, Dr. Walu.
Weaponization of incompetence.
2 points I want you to make. So clearly you don't believe that the government has not seen a letter. You believe that the House has sent the letter.
the House sent the letter days back and informed the whole world. And in fact, from what we have seen as of today, it was not sent, it was sent through a courier company. And the courier company came back with a report of what transpired between them and the guys that they met in Government House, who were instructed not to receive the letter. But I believe that if I were Martin Emmanuel, I would transmit another letter to the governor today. Maybe I will send it through the press. Maybe I will send it through Channels Television, whether it will work. And then let's see what the governor does moving forward. But I can tell you, it has been the same pattern from day one. The governor chooses which court order to obey and which one not to obey. He has already obeyed some. And he's not saying that he will not obey others, he will not do others because he has not got certified true copies. It shows clearly that he's a man on a mission. He has his own style of doing things. But unfortunately, that style is not in sync with the aspirations of Rivers people.
All right, Dr. Walu.
And Rivers people here is Martin Emmanuel and co, who are their representatives.
Okay, well, he's still the governor of the state, just for the facts to be clear. Dr. Walu, but you worked with the governor twice. You resigned twice. What kind of a person, without trying to be personal, is he in your view?
Maybe the reason I gave for leaving the government will help. In my resignation letter, I wrote very clearly that I was leaving because of the toxic environment that existed and the smothering arbitrariness on the part of the governor. Because let me tell you, Geoffrey, and I want the whole world to put this on notice. I was in Fubara's government when this crisis started. We were sworn in in October of 2023. And it was in that same October that this crisis started. And until we left, came back and left again, the governor never, for one day, briefed the State Executive Council on what was going on. Instead, he will come to meetings or any gathering and make statements, make insinuations to suggest that something was going on and activities were happening. I was in government when the governor presented the 2024 appropriation bill to the now illegal Oko Jumbo Assembly. As commissioners, we were supposed to go with the governor to present and defend the budget before the assembly. But we were not part of it. So he was doing whatever he liked, the way he liked it. And for me, by my nature, by my training, I cannot go home and explain to my wife that all I'm doing in government is that I just go there and answer yes, sir, and do whatever the governor wants. So I felt that I should leave. So what we have in our hands today is a dictatorship delivered to us by democracy in Rivers State. And I've known all along that democracy, if not well practiced, can even produce dictatorship. It was democracy that produced Hitler.
Dr. Walu, we're totally out of time. Dr. Walu, we're totally out of time. In 30 seconds, there has to be a way, one way or the other, out of this, I don't know what to call it, quagmire, confusion, conundrum, absurdity. In 10 seconds, what's the way forward?
The governor should kill his pride and biases. He should know that he has a responsibility to develop Rivers State and Rivers people. With crisis, he will not be able to do that. But if he continues on this path, because like I said, he's the aggressor. He tries to play the victim, but he's not. He's the aggressor. He's the one who is refusing to pay court orders. He's the one who is refusing to listen to anybody. If somebody does not listen to courts, you went to the court of first instance, they gave a judgment, you didn't obey it. You appealed the same judgment that you said you will not obey, and that you did not recognize. You went on appeal. The appeal court gave a judgment. You said, no, you will not obey it. You are going to Supreme Court. You went to Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court has told you infernality that do this and that and that. And you're still saying you want to study the CTC to know what to do and what not to do. And you have already done some, and you are refusing to do others.
Okay.
You are the aggressor. You are the one who wants peace to reign in River State. And if peace must reign in River State, it is the governor who will do all that is necessary to ensure that there is peace. The ball is in his court.
All right. Dr. Gift Wallu, the former commissioner, two-time commissioner, I must say, for housing in River State. Thank you for your insight and your time. And we pray peace is restored perfectly in River State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. My prayer is that there should be peace and development in River State.
All right. That's everybody's prayer. Just as we begin to wrap up, let's tell you, we'll be monitoring activities in the chambers of the Senate. And we can tell you now that the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, began his address by addressing allegations of the sexual harassment preferred against him by Senator Natasha, stating that he had been inundated with calls on the matter since February the 25th and was aware of the growing social media discourse. Dismissing the allegations, Senator Akpabio firmly stated in his words, "At no time did I ever harass any woman. I was raised very well by my late single mother. I have always upheld respect for women. I was even awarded the most gender-friendly governor in Nigeria." He urged Nigerians, the social media, the media, to avoid conclusions and instead wait for the court decision. However, immediately after his remarks, Senator Akpoti Uduaghan raised a petition under Order 40, accusing the Senate President of sexual harassment and abuse of office. She requested permission to step forward and formally lay the petition before the chamber. The Senate subsequently referred the petition to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Code of Conduct, directing it to review the matter as soon as practicable. So that is the latest that is coming from the chambers of the National Assembly. That is the latest that is coming from the chamber. So Senator Natasha Akpoti has formally presented a petition of sexual harassment to the floor of the Senate and is being referred to the right committee. But away from that, before we wrap up, River State, the House of Assembly has resolved to summon the River State Independent Electoral Commission chairman to appear before them on Friday, which is the day after tomorrow. So a lot of political happenings. So the plenary is being presided over by the Speaker, Martina Mewule. The RESEC, which is the Electoral Commission, they will be bringing out a timetable for the local government election today, but the House has summoned him to appear before them on Friday. So how it plays out, we will let you know. But thank you for your time and, of course, your usual company. We'll keep tab on all happenings in politics and in the polity right here on Midday on Lunchtime Politics. Thank you for everything. I'm Jeffrey Ozonga. Bye-bye.